Seniors. How easily they can be overlooked and ignored. Many lack the necessary support to live the life they have earned through hard work. Even as seniors, they have made significant contributions to society. There are many issues facing them, but the problem of abuse is a major and urgent one, as it's at the root of many other challenges affecting them. Seniors are sometimes at the mercy of their spouses, family members, friends, and caregivers. The ones who are very old, frail, isolated, or have physical disabilities are at the highest risk. Don't give up on our elderly. Dr. Jean Small is one of the persons being honored by the Caribbean Community for Retired Persons Living Legacy Awards. She achieved her PhD in her 70s. It is important that we respect our elders, learn from the people who have walked the path before us. They may be down, but not out, and still making a significant impact on society. As Nelson Mandela said, a society that does not value its older people denies its roots and endangers its future. Statistics show that senior citizens make up 12.6% of the country's population. Each year, they suffer elder abuse at the hands of caregivers. Many go unreported. Sadly, some of these caregivers are close family members. But what exactly is elder abuse?
Elder abuse is a scourge in this country and in many countries, because throughout the world, especially in developing countries, people are finding that that senior cohort is getting larger and larger in the population. Many times, provision is not made for them. So what happens is that, for example, and it's not that we don't love our seniors. When you hear people talk about their mothers, their grandmothers, their fathers, their grandfathers, their beloved uncles and aunts, it's not that they don't love them, it's just that I think we want to think that they're always young. We want to think that they are always able to manage for themselves. But no, age does cause greater dependence in certain areas, physical dependence, more medical monitoring, and of course, people get lonely because the children grow up. There are so many people talk about this empty nest syndrome. The children grow up and go away. A lot of people, their children migrate and they're left alone here in Jamaica. Our churches too have been very caring of our seniors. They have set up nursing homes. They have people that visit shut-ins. So there is a lot of care, but as I say, so many more people are getting older, so many more people are alone, and I think that this green paper that has just been tabled this year, which is a revision of our senior citizens policy for Jamaica. It was tabled by Minister Shahini Robinson, who is the Minister of Labor and Social Security. So she is going to be strengthening laws, including those that will protect our elderly. The types of elder abuse that exist, because sometimes we're not aware of them. There is discriminatory abuse where somebody says, oh, that person's a dinosaur, and you wave them off. That's ageism. There is financial abuse, and I know that the chairman of our caring committee, Mrs. Irene Walter, will be able to tell you quite a bit about financial abuse. There is neglect, there is physical abuse, there is psychological and emotional abuse, there is sexual abuse, yes, and there is verbal abuse.
One of the problems of old age is isolation. Sometimes family members are abroad, and these persons, old, are left in the care of persons who are employed. The emotional isolation often leads to scamming, because persons now recognize that they have an opportunity, and older persons wanting to please their caregivers sometimes are very generous in dispersing their monies. So on occasions, many persons have found that their savings are depleted by the persons who themselves are empowered to look after them. I think it's something that happens more often than we want to think. If that person had persons around her were sensitive to the possibility that this could happen, that could be prevented, because persons who are going to engage in these activities want to keep it a secret. But also financial houses with whom these people develop long-term associations could probe a little bit. Why are you withdrawing so much money? What are you going to do with it? Alerting persons who are close to the persons. Those are ways in which the society could extend their help to older persons who are now very vulnerable and can be taken advantage of.
It is so sad when you hear youngsters for whom these elders had sacrificed being disrespectful to their elders. That must be so heartbreaking for them. And it is something that we should all try to promote in our families, in our communities, in our homes. The legislation is really a general one that protects. It's really a crime against the person, which would cover everybody, but we don't think that that is sufficient. And therefore we are pushing for similar laws to the Child Care and Protection Act to be legislated for the elderly. If you know of child abuse and you do not report it, you are liable for prosecution. That does not apply now for the elderly. We want to see that in the law, and we believe that this will become law, because in the Green Paper, Mrs. Robinson speaks about strengthening that law, and we have been speaking about it, and I know she cares very deeply about the elderly, but that law cannot come too soon. I don't think there is enough awareness of this. I think there has been a lot of emphasis on child abuse, but at the other end of the scale, there has not been enough on elderly abuse. And in the same way that we are so distressed when a little toddler who can hardly know themselves is abused, remember at the other end of the scale is an elderly person with dementia, is an elderly person who cannot speak for themselves and who may be abused and nobody knows. What a horrible thing that is.
I think a structure similar to what is in place for children, for the care of children, could be instituted for the elderly. I do not know of any structure that is so organized so that you could call somebody and say, this person, I suspect that this person is having some difficulty. Is there any way in which an intervention could be made? These elderly persons have made significant contribution to the society and deserve better treatment from the governments.
We need to just raise awareness. We need to ask families to be on the lookout, because sometimes they may hire somebody who they think is a good person, and that person might even be showing them a nice face. Do not just count on what the caregiver is saying to you. Check the person. Check the person for bruises. Check to see if the person is fearful when the caregiver enters a room. Those are some of the signs, and therefore we're going to have to promote these signs that a lot of people are not aware of. Financial abuse, we have heard so many awful stories about that, and it continues. Because, you know, a lot of people, they might be worried that they forget, for example, their PIN number, and they'll write it somewhere, and somebody gets a hold of it, and before they know it, they have lost all their money. So again, the relatives, if you are abroad, you should try to have a trusted friend who can follow up on these things and monitor these things, because there are some very serious things going on, and sometimes when you find out, it can be so painful and it can be too late.
There is no legislation in place which speaks specifically to elder abuse, but reports can be made to the National Council for Senior Citizens, the nearest Ministry of Labor and Social Security office, or the nearest police station.
There is a law that protects all of us against abuse and violence, and therefore that is actionable. That is actionable. It's just that we'd like it to be tougher.
Unfortunately, there is no law that is specific to elder abuse. And so at present, the abusers are treated under the Offences Against the Persons Act, the Sexual Offences Act, and those pieces of legislation that are appropriate for the type of abuse. It should be no comfort to the abusers because they can be brought before the courts in cases where it is proven that they are abusive to older persons.
I'm not sure of what the fines and jail terms are, but I would say that they should be severely punished. They should feel the full length of the arm of the law because it is despicable. It is despicable. Well, what is going on now, and we have to thank God for this technology, that there is a technology now that you can put cameras, you can put hidden cameras in the homes and in the bedrooms and so on to pick up these things. And as a matter of fact, a home that is sure of what they're doing, they would not have a problem with, cameras not in the bedroom because, of course, that would be too invasive, but in some of the social areas where, people come out to play games or watch TV or whatever. You can see the interaction there, and you wouldn't want to hide it if you know that all is fine and all is well. So I think we should encourage these homes, and we should encourage relatives to push for these cameras, whether in the nursing homes or whether at home, where you want your elderly relative to be well looked after.
According to a family member who witnessed her parent being abused, a call to the police resulted in this response: "Just pay her off and fire her. She'll be somebody else's problem." Attempts to get an interview with the police was unsuccessful, as we were informed by a member of the CCN that elder abuse is not a crime category that is recorded by them, so there is no one person or unit solely focused on or tracks it. And what about the awareness at the community level and the importance of reporting not only elder abuse, but crimes of any nature?
I would ask the churches to lead this discussion. I think the churches are well set up for this because they have church services on the weekends, whether Saturdays or Sundays. They have youth groups, they have women's groups, they have men's groups, and I would say that they need to institute a proper program to promote the prevention of elderly abuse.
The church recently has come under some attack for its role in the society. But the churches are the bastion of support for the old people. Many churches have senior citizens group, and that allows for a social gathering of persons who might never have had the opportunity to leave their homes. But it provides a forum for people to gather and to end the isolation that old people often feel. I just wanted to say that this is a hot topic. I think it is topical. It needs to be spoken about. It needs to be addressed. That is the abuse, the possibility of abuse of this sector of our society, which has contributed so much to the development of our country.
And let us remind every Jamaican that if we are lucky, one day we will be old, and we will want if we are not able to look after ourselves, that somebody is going to be there to look out for us and to ensure that we are safe.
The Caribbean Community for Retired Persons is an organization for persons 50 years and older who are retired or preparing for retirement.
Well, the Caribbean Community of Retired Persons, which was started 8 years ago, is an organization that was set up to ensure that the talent and the skills and the experience of our seniors continues to be respected and that we continue to benefit from this, and also to ensure that they enjoy the quality of life that they deserve. Because our main objectives are to ensure that they get the care that they deserve. Because, for example, we know that there are some very well-kept retirement homes. We know that others are not so well-kept. And we want to ensure that there is a stronger monitoring system to prevent elderly abuse. We also know that 60 and 65, which are considered retirement ages, are relatively young ages. And so these persons, these professionals can contribute so much to nation building. And so we even have a skills bank where if persons want part-time professionals to work in their companies, they are able to continue. And therefore, this will supplement the income of retired persons and help organizations like small businesses, NGOs, to benefit from the skills that these persons have. We find it very, very important that we find opportunities for our seniors to get together. So we have gone on tours, we have gone rafting with our seniors. We did a visit to a Taino village. We did a visit to a maroon village in Portland. They went to Puerto Rico the other day. I remember the last time we had a games evening. We have a games evening every last Tuesday of the month. This lady, she said to me, "You're winning too much, you know. I'm going to goozum you." And we started to laugh like little children because, I said, my God, I haven't heard that word goozum for so long. And this is the kind of interaction, light-hearted fun, I think that our seniors need. Our first Living Legacy Award was in 2012 when we celebrated Jamaica 50. And because there were so many people that we thought were not recognized, it was the biggest we've ever had. We had 62 persons who were honored. And for each person, when they came up, we spoke about what their achievements were. And so we had people there like Sir Howard Cook. But we also had a lady there called Mama Joy Baker, who lived on Hanover Street and who for the previous 40 years had been cleaning bars and raising children. She had opened over 300 bank accounts for these children to teach them how to save. And as a result of telling people about Mama Joy Baker, by the following year, she got a national award. And we were so happy because by this time, I think she was in her late 70s or early 80s. And she was not very well. And a few years after, she passed away. And we felt so good that we could tell Jamaica about this person. And so every other year, we were having these awards. And since last year, we decided that there were so many people that needed to be honored that we were going to make it annual. And so this year, we're actually preparing for our CCRP Living Legacy Award that will be held on the 28th of this month. And our awardees are wonderful people. One is the Honorable Glenn Christian, founder of CariMed. Now, Glenn Christian will tell you that the first time he wore shoes was when he was 13. Then another awardee is Nurse Joy Crooks. 20 years ago, Nurse Crooks was a returning resident, and she came to St. James and Montego Bay. She saw all of these homeless people on the street, and she decided to do something about it. So she formed a committee and she got people to contribute. She started a home for these people. She would take them off the street, clean them up, get them psychological help. And she said so many families did not know where these people were, and they were so happy to embrace their lost brother or sister. And they were reintegrated back into daily life and into their families. The other awardee is Dr. Owen James. He is the recipient of the Family Doctor of the Year award by the Medical Association. And whenever he's asked to speak about wellness or health, he makes himself available. He's like a disciple of wellness, and he never charges for those lectures. And then the other person that we are honoring is Dr. Jean Small. And she's an example to seniors that you are never too old to continue learning. She marched for her PhD in her 70s. She taught at Immaculate Conception. For 20 years she taught French. Then she became a playwright, and she does puppeteering. And her students at Immaculate say that she is the finest teacher that they've ever had. So we thought that we should honor her, not only because she's such a fine educator, but because she's such a fine example to people who probably are retiring now and are wondering, what is my next step?
Jean Lorchin was too modest to tell you that this year she is being honored. And I applaud the government in offering her the National Honor of Commander of Order of Distinction Officer Class. I think she deserves it, both for her commitment to this sector of our society, but for the tremendous support, the financial burden she has undertaken over the 8 years.
One of our board members, Mike Fraser, he was instrumental in getting Sagicor to provide a special, affordable major medical health insurance for our members. And we have got so many thank yous from our members for that insurance, because it has saved them literally millions. This major medical insurance, you pay between 22 and 32,000 Jamaican dollars per annum, and you are covered up to $5 million for tests leading up to what may be surgery, and even a root canal is covered by this major medical insurance. And because the ceiling is $5 million, people who, for example, get that terrible diagnosis of a very terrible disease, they're able to get their surgery, they're able to get their chemo, their radiation. And one lady told me 6 months after she was approved, she was diagnosed. And she said the surgery and all of these came up to nearly $3 million. And she only had to pay 20%.
I have been a proud member of CCRP since its inception in 2010, 8 years ago. I lived in Barbados during the last years of my last employment, and was acquainted with the Barbados Association of Retired Persons. I was very impressed with the work being done there. So I was very, very happy when our founder, Mrs. Jean Lorchin, decided to establish this Caribbean community of retired persons, because I saw the excellent work that was being done in Barbados by that community. Healthcare is very expensive, and many of our elders do not have healthcare because they are retired. Many companies do not extend insurance beyond retirement, and it is left to the very small pensions to provide for care. We know the difficulties in our public hospitals, and you only need to visit these hospitals to see long hours, the long times, the long periods in which persons have to wait for care. I know of one particular situation right now where a doctor ordered a colonoscopy. The hospital has given the person 6 months before this can be done. Now, it is quite likely that if there is a serious illness like cancer, it would have spread within the 6 months. But what are the alternatives? Very expensive private care, which cannot be met from the pensions. So there is need for a more sensitive response to the aged in providing health care. CCRP has done a good thing in arranging for this major medical, which will help to prevent persons going deeper into poverty by having to pay for these services. When one gets old, one needs a helping hand. And on many of these occasions, older people have severe disabilities. They are hypertensive. The chronic diseases have stepped in. There is a group of private nurses, but it's very expensive. So if you have a 24-hour nursing service, that could set you back a pretty penny, something like $30,000, $40,000 a week for the services. Any savings you have accumulated over the years would immediately be depleted under those circumstances.
There are people who are not preparing themselves for retirement. And we do a lot of seminars on wellness, on financial planning, on budgeting, gardening, personal safety, all of these things that actually prepares you for retirement. And it's so sad that sometimes people only realize that they're going to be retiring like 2 or 3 years before, and then they almost become panicked. Some people become depressed. But retirement is really a great opportunity if you have planned for it. I advise everyone, from the day you start working, you must start to plan for your retirement. And I say to people, you know, I call it the joy of compound interest. Remember, when you save, your savings are being compounded every year. And before you know it, you have a very nice nest egg if you start young.
The following drama presentation that you're about to see is a reenactment of actual events. Names have been changed to protect identities.
Point values are double. We got top 7 answers on the board. After a good first date, the girl plans her wedding. What does the guy do? Nathaniel.
Plans his funeral.
Plans.
Oh, somebody's at the door. Coming! Oh, hi. Good morning. This way. Come in. Oh, you have a lot of things there, ma. Daddy, this is Miss Suzette.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, dear. Don't bother this, sir. Everyone calls me Master D.
Why, Daddy, you're not easy, you know. Suzette, step over there and have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. I just want to thank you for agreeing to stay with my precious daddy here.
Proper take care.
You hear that, Daddy?
Morning.
Morning. We can get some tin mackerel and plain rice for breakfast.
You're gonna name me cooking, you know? Very tired of my old father. I know I'm not going to take care of him old father. I We put on the water for bathe you. So get up out of the bed. Me beg you take off your clothes. Oh, you do so long?
Suzette, beg you little help now, please.
For piano. How you do so long?
Suzette, beg you little help now.
Push in your hand. You know what I do this? Your breakfast ready. So you can still make the tea cool.
Beg you little help now, please.
Well, that.
What is? If you never have enough saltfish, make you never cook something else.
Oh, well. Yes. Girl, lie down. Vaccine. Yeah, girl. But they up on a piece of dirty work. But tired of them and them old father. I don't know what them don't come take care of him. Yeah, girl. But don't like the man. I do him some things. Girl. I can't bother with that woman, yeah. I have no credit. I still call her back at done. I mean, I still call her back, Maxine.
Suzette! Suzette! Come change me now. Suzette! Come change me.
Nah, don't.
Suzette! Come change. Change me now, please. Suzette! Suzette!
Sure, me tell you to watch them damn piss up something here, you know. And ugly old red man, stop calling me. Master, me have a young girl can gain, but you have to sign over everything to her. Me have an infection, but if you have a condom, me will give you peace.
Come out of my room. God, oh God.
Hi, Daddy. How you doing? Let me tell you what's been happening.
Food that you have.
Yeah, you want some? You want it? All right, Daddy. Wait, let me help. Daddy, oh, you move so hungry. Daddy, you're eating like you haven't had anything to eat all day. Oh, man.
I'm back tired. I want to lie down.
Yeah. You need my help, Daddy?
Yes, dear.
Okay. All right.
Ow. Ow. Ow.
Bed sore? Daddy, how did you get bed sores? And you have a caregiver living with you. It's my Father. Let's pour. Daddy, Asuko.
Are you leaving?
No, Daddy. I'll be here until tomorrow.
Suzette, don't raise me up, man. Please.
Jesus Christ! You're gonna kill him! Daddy.
That's how she treat me all the while.
Dad, Mr. Famous the one wicked suicide they had, Daddy. Somebody need to come take her out of the house right now. Dad, that wicked girl suicide me said, if me touch her to death, somebody better come down and want her out of the house now. Morning, Daddy.
Here. What time you leaving?
I'm not sure yet, Daddy.
You can bathe me before you leave, please. Bathe me before you leave, though. Come help me to the living room.
Okay.
Look what me come to. Look what me come to, eh? Look what me come to. Mama! Mama! Look what me come to. Look what me come to. Look what me come to, eh?
The National Council for Senior Citizens is a department within the Ministry of Labor and Social Security that's responsible for elderly persons, all matters that have to do with the well-being of elderly persons, and those persons would fall within the 60 and older age category. We were established in 1976. And our first policy was in 1997. That's a policy that guides and directs the roles and the functions of the National Council for Senior Citizens. The history of the National Council comes really out of volunteerism. It came from a group of volunteers who saw the social conditions of older persons and wanted to do something to address those issues. And the government was approached, and out of that came the National Council for Senior Citizens. The board was established, and the role of the board really is to advise the minister on all these matters that relate to the well-being of older persons, to promote intergenerational approaches to aging, to educate the public, and really and truly just to advocate for the rights of older persons. The problem of elder abuse does exist in Jamaica in terms of reporting and data, and the extent of elder abuse that's yet to be verified. We suspect that according to international standards that it is unreported as it is worldwide. We do get cases of elder abuse here, and those cases are usually very distressing. For 2017, we had 13 cases reported, and these cases were from nursing homes, family members, caregivers, persons in the general public, and some also included cases of abandonment and neglect of older persons. Cases of elder abuse reported to the National Council for Senior Citizens are usually first investigated by one of our social workers. Our social workers are located at the local Ministry of Labour and Social Security office in each parish. And upon investigation by the social worker, if it is necessary for police involvement, then that is so done. In other cases, we try to collaborate with local agencies on the ground. We work with churches. If it is cases that require some form of mediation, we use those local support and other community organizations on the ground, or the services of other government agencies to resolve those issues.
Elder abuse exists far more than we know and is grossly overlooked. Unfortunately, since it's not recorded in crime statistics, there is no real way to track its effects over the years.
I would definitely be able to speak to the last 2 years. In 2016, 6 cases were reported to the National Council, and in 2017, 13 cases. So if we were looking at that, then we could say that there was some sort of increase. But I think that from anecdotal evidence, we could say that there are other cases of elder abuse that we just do not know about. The National Council for Senior Citizens, our offices operate Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 5 p.m. And there's a toll-free line, 1-888-SENIORS, which persons can call to report cases of elder abuse. Otherwise, you can always call our numbers, 906-927-78, or you can make that report at any of the local Ministry of Labour and Social Security offices across the island. The toll-free number operates only during office hours at this time. So we can also be reached via email, so persons could just send us an email, ncsc@mlss.gov.jm, and someone will respond within 24 hours to that complaint. I recall a case in St. Elizabeth of an elderly person. All her relatives were abroad, and she was left in the care of a younger person, I would say a mature woman. All the relatives were abroad, and they had provided extensively, substantially for her to take care of the elderly person. Unfortunately, she abused the situation and moved her relatives into the senior citizens' home, and she was placed to the back of the house, and she was neglected, both her personal hygiene, her nutrition, and in that case the National Council had to intervene and contact the relatives in order for to secure the safety and the protection of the elder. We definitely need to get the word out about elder abuse. World Elder Abuse Awareness Day is the 15th of June every year. And so the council works with the media to get the word out. We also do a lot of community work. We have several workshops and seminars to engage persons. We work with community groups, volunteer groups, church groups to educate persons on the rights of older persons and the importance of caring for elderly persons. We also do workshops for caregivers to advise them on how to deal with stress and prevent burnout, because most of the time, sometimes I would say, the caregiver in response to stress, takes it out on the older person and they become victims themselves. Counseling can be offered to persons who have been abused, we find that a lot of older persons who've been abused, sometimes either it is that they're not very assertive or they're just very fearful of the caregiver or the family member, because if you report a case of abuse, then you still have to remain most times in the care of the abuser, and so persons are fearful. When we find those cases, we will work with local counseling support agencies. We work, as I said before, with churches, and we work with the victim services unit in the parishes. And in other cases, our own social workers are able to offer that type of support, and we refer for mediation where it is necessary. What we would like to see happen for senior citizens, as is proposed in the revised national policy, is that senior citizens live and work and exist in this nation as rightful citizens, happy and being able to enjoy life, being valued for their contribution to building this nation that we are now enjoying, and that their rights are respected, that they are allowed to participate in their family, in their community, and in the nation as they choose, as they wish to, or as they are able to. Fellow Jamaicans, we have to do better. We are not this nation of careless people. We love and respect our senior citizens. If you should suspect a case of elder abuse, please call the National Council for Senior Citizens. Our lines are open. It is your duty, it's our duty to protect all senior citizens. And for those persons who are, intend to, or continue to abuse the elderly, you should stop it. It is a crime. And wherever and whenever the National Council finds such cases, you will be brought to book. You will pay. If you are a caregiver, a family member, and you need help, please seek the services of the council. We can help you. It does not need to resort to abuse.
I'm Alicia Steele, producer and presenter at Public Broadcasting Corporation of Jamaica. Wapm, who not think the elderly have feelings too?
Stop abusing the elderly. And don't let them feel like them is a burden.
What gives you the right to treat them this way? Who not think gonna go and stay young forever?
Stop the uncivilized behavior.
If you suspect that someone is being abused, whether it's a family member, a friend, or even a neighbor,
don't ignore it. Blow a whistle, report it.
stop abusing our elderly.
Stop it.
Stop it. Stop it. No.